Hi, Zizaran here with another build collab for 3.17, this time featuring prolific build creator Ruetoo. And this is going to be a duelist champion with corrupting fever, just like a physical dot, and it looks really good. This is a build that feels amazing for clearing and actually has fairly decent damage for bossing as well. I would say it's probably a bit more of a clearer than a dedicated bosser, but a really solid league starter, and it looks like it comes online very quickly. And as normal, we have a step-by-step leveling with all the trees, etc. Early on, you level with splitting steel, as you can see here, and it's all very step-by-step, taking it all the way into leveling. And then there's different setups for if you want to be tanky, if you want to focus on DPS, and like an overall end game setup. And you're leveling with splitting steel and taking like two-handed nodes early, and then you're going to be swapping to corrupting fever. Obviously, we have some of the same nodes, a lot of like percentage fist damage nodes. Pretty good to level there, honestly. In the gear sets as well, there are loads of different gear sets showing you basically early on you need nothing for this build. It's just life and resist, spell damage and stuff like that, and you have loads of different options as you move through the game. So check those item sets out, and you have an idea of what you can be going for. In the notes, loads of extensive information, and this will be able to answer questions like if you're running into problems with anything. Loads of good info here as well. And the bandit for this build is you kill them all, you don't want to help any, so you want those 2 skill points. The Pantheon is the Brian King and Garakan. And this is a build that honestly feels amazing. I've done corrupting fever builds before, and wonders, just they're amazing to play. So it's really good. Even though it's a dot build and sometimes they can feel a little clunky with the damage being delayed, these really feel great. So Ru, are there like too many gems? What's the socket pressure like on this build?
It's actually pretty extreme. You kind of need everything for this build to work because it triggers so many different spells and it does so many different things, and you need so many different auras. It's actually very high. It's one of the most ones I've ever had to do.
So do you use unset rings, or is there anything that you could drop if you're struggling on sockets?
Yes, so you can drop the vortex links and the steel skin early. Even though the arcane surge does give you 8% damage, you can also drop that too, just very early. So you can get away with those 3 first because your character is going to be fairly tanky and it rarely gets really hit because you really kill monsters from a screen away.
What about mana issues? Can the player run into that?
Both of the skills that get triggered are use life, so as long as you have life regen, you don't need any mana. The only thing that uses mana are Enduring Cry, the Vortex, and your shield charge.
What about level uniques? Is there anything the player could find early that would be a big boost to the build?
Not really. The build is pretty straightforward. Poet's Pen is a very early unique, but it's usually kind of like 5 to 10C early in the league. So if you get that much early, you can invest in that very early, and the build becomes really good.
So can you walk me through the defenses of this build? How do we have sustain, and what are like defensive layers are we using?
Okay, so we are champion and we have auto fortify, and then champion initially or on its own has around 5,000 evasion and armor with gear. So when you use corrupting fever, it takes you below half life and automatically up to 75 again, the way PoB is constructed, and you have the 10 physical damage reduction from that also.
Very nice. So are there any special mechanics that make this build that players might not be used to running in other builds?
Not really, but the build is like a traditional spell slinger Poet's Pen build where you attack and you get a spell, and you're at this build, the attack actually does something because it causes the monsters to bleed, which triggers your explosions. The build also has around 1k regeneration as well as leech, so even if you get hit by bosses and stuff like that, you regenerate your life really quickly.
Oh, that's really good. What would you say is like the biggest drawback or downside to this build?
The amount of DPS it can output, that's the main drawback. A lot of SC builds or a lot of builds in general can get up to like 10-15 million these days. This build kind of max out at like 6-7.
Still pretty playable. That's still a good number. So what would you say are some financial drawbacks for this build?
I think overall the build is pretty efficiently made, so there really isn't any financial drawbacks. But if you want higher level gear, there's always going to be a price to pay for stuff like that's really rare, or mods that are really rare.
Awesome. So, Rue, can you show us a little bit how to actually play the build?
So this build is very simple to play. First, you hit your Corrupting Fever button here, which is going to take more than half of your life, proccing your adrenaline, healing yourself and giving you a big damage boost, a speed boost, and an attack speed boost. Then all you do is hit your Kinetic Blast, and it's literally going to put Corrupting Fever and Bleed on all of the monsters, causing them to explode when they die, killing all the other monsters around them. As you can see, my clear is really, really good. I'm moving around the map really, really fast. You just use your shield charge to move around. If you take any damage, you use your Enduring Cry right there and you are healing yourself, or your Life Flask. The build's downfall is it doesn't have great single target damage against bosses, even though my gear is okay and it takes them down quite quickly. You can see the build is very, very smooth. It clears really, really fast. I'm already pretty much done with this map. If you play this build, you'll have a great time and you'll be faster than all your friends. Just kidding. Don't believe people who tell you that.
Huge thanks to Rue for making this build. It looks amazing. Make sure you check him out. He streams a lot on Twitch, makes really, really good guides, and you'll always see him playing something interesting. And if you're running into problems with this build, he's going to be able to help you and fix anything that should be wrong with a few simple questions. So make sure you check him out, and a huge thank you once again. If you guys liked the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. More importantly, try to die less than I do.